I spent a total of around about 6 months in hospital as a whole, and that's probably over the last couple of 2 to 3 years, and I've spent 4 or 5 months on a PICU being a kind of high security unit or ward within a hospital.
I had a major breakdown about 15, 16 years ago. In that period I've become involved with PICU as the patient representative. I've developed a fairly keen interest in what PICU are all about, really.
When you think about a mental hospital, people think of straight jackets and padded rooms and white, all this clinical and 12 Monkeys style or something, it's all a little bit freaky. And it's a hospital, or at least it's part of a hospital, basically designed to look after people that are, by psychiatric standards, at a very, very high risk to themselves and to others.
In the 15, 16 years since I was first ill, we're seeing it on the telly, we're seeing programmes, we're seeing debate about mental health. There's so much going on that people don't go into those situations quite as green as I did.
It's not a prison, it's not a place where you're behind bars, nothing like that. It's a place where basically you are gradually and gently sort of rehabilitated.
It's a place where hopefully you will be fairly quickly convinced that everybody is there to try and help you get better.
Perhaps when you get there under section and the staff haven't built up a rapport with you and they don't know what sort of behaviours to expect from you, you don't have much leave to go outside the hospital. Now initially that might feel like you're being punished, it might feel like something that it is quite hard to cope with, because you can't go out and play sport, you can't go for walks, you can't do this and that. So initially there is just this, there's this frustration, there's this I'm being punished, when actually it's completely there for your own safety.
If we become too isolated, we become less effective.
And I've got to give the staff a hell of a lot of credit, and I'm talking about the staff in Greyfriars particularly, because they invested in me in other ways. They encouraged me to cook and to write, to basically do anything creative, whether that was drawing, whether that was whatever music kind of groups. The staff are basically there to really stimulate you mentally.
And I found my PICU experience much better than I did general acute wards, because there was much more order, much more. It was easy to work out where you were and what everybody did and where you fitted in, and the disciplines were simpler. And when you go on to acute, suddenly you haven't got a clue.
In this particular PICU that I'm mainly talking about, Greyfriars, staff recognise that they're all working towards a kind of common goal, and a common sort of a shared philosophy that they're there for people's good, for people's benefit. They're there to get people better. Most of them in the job, from my side, I can see that they're intelligent, talented people that aren't working for any kind of monetary, or they're not doing the job for any kind of financial thing. They're doing it because they want to help people, and they're driven. Even when I was at my worst, my very, very lowest, in Greyfriars, and that was ugly. It's ugly to think back on. It was ugly for a lot of people. But even at that lowest point, I am surprised in many ways by just how sort of open and accommodating the staff at Greyfriars PICU were. It was incredible.
If I got to go into hospital, I would choose PICU without question.
There was a lady, and I won't give any sort of name, but she was my named nurse. So basically, within a PICU, you'll always have a kind of assigned nurse that throughout your stay is going to see you periodically. If I wanted in the morning to speak to my named nurse about whatever I was thinking or feeling, I could. Same in the evening, I just could. Now, even when I was most unwell, she would always challenge my thinking, always challenge the thoughts I was having, not in an aggressive way, but she would say, why do you know, she would probe and say, why do you believe that? Why? You know, and I guess that is something I'm trying to take on right now. It's like I might have intrusive thoughts that I know are not what I truly think, or they're just there for some reason. They're there. It's like, well, why am I thinking that? And it's kind of like My Name Nurse has given me the kind of almost like a template as to how to deal with my own mind. Like it's probing deeper. Like, well, why? Asking that question all the time.
Yeah, to understand, I'm grateful. You know, I suspect if I hadn't had that intervention, I might not be here.
I think, you know, prejudices, you know, we've always got to challenge prejudices. They will always be there. That's the unfortunate thing. But I guess, you know, my message to people would be a PICU is not something to be afraid of. You know, if you've got the opportunity to go into a PICU, do it, because, you know, you're in a place where you're going to be looked after. You know, you are going to be looked after in some way or another. You know, and you might well sort of come to some profound revelations about who you are, about how to tackle your mental health issues, and, you know, hopefully, you know, you'll meet some awesome people along the way. I certainly did, you know, and I'm you know, a year and a half after my kind of admission, you know, I'm to me at least, I'm doing the best I ever have done in my entire life.